Welcome to the podcast. I'm Rob Vanovermeire, realtor, broker, and owner of Coldwell Banker Mountain Central, and someone who's genuinely passionate about real estate, business, and building relationships that last. Whether you're buying your first home, growing an investment portfolio, building a business, or just trying to stay ahead of what's happening in the market, this podcast is for you. Each episode will dive into real estate trends, marketing strategies, negotiations, investing, entrepreneurship, and conversations with incredible people from our industry and community. No fluff, no corporate jargon, just real conversations, practical advice, and insights you can actually use. My goal is simple: to help you make smarter decisions, stay informed, and maybe even see opportunities you didn't know existed. So wherever you're listening from, thanks for being here. And now let's get right into it.
All right. Shane Meahan, welcome to today's podcast.
How you doing, Rob?
I'm just doing great. It feels good to be here, and I'm glad to have you on our podcast. And we're talking about one of my favorite topics, and it's getting a lot of attention, Shane, is this cash offer program. And it's funny because I started real estate a long time ago, and we were on a program a long time ago that was called Your Home Sold Guaranteed, or We Will Buy It. And it got a lot of attention, although I'll be the first to admit, when we were on that program years ago, we never bought a house.
I've been running that same program for about eight years now, and I think I've had one where it was close.
One where it was close.
Other than that, I don't know if the market is the same as it was 10, 15 years ago, where 70% of houses are selling right now. So I think we're in a situation where that has kind of lost some teeth.
Well, the Your Home Sold Guaranteed program, it is a legitimate program, but there is restrictions to the program that I found some people have not liked. You have to be on the market a certain amount of time. Some of those programs that were run, in order for us to buy your house, you have to buy one of our listings. And of course, if we don't have a listing that your client wants to buy, then the program doesn't work. So if you get into the restrictive details, that program just doesn't always work for a lot of people because there's so many hoops they have to go through. And we started it was last June of 2025, we partnered with Salzio, and they just simply buy the house for cash.
Mm-hmm. So how long does that process take? If you were to sit down with a seller and they said, yes, we want to run this program, I'm in a situation where I need some fast cash for my home, how long does it take to cash a check potentially?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. It takes 3 days. Because it's all cash. Closings take a little longer if there's financing, because the bank has to get all their financial documents, the mortgage has to be prepared, the lawyer has to review it, and money has to come. So it always takes longer. But if you're actually not financing a house and you're just paying cash, you can close a house in 3 days.
Yeah, because I know typically if I'm writing an offer for a buyer, and you probably are seeing the same thing, a buyer that's going through the bank for financing, you need a 10-day condition period. And then mortgage instructions have to get to the lawyer. You're talking, 21 days on a traditional mortgage property. But if a seller can cash out in 3 to 5 days, I can see that being pretty attractive to a lot of homeowners.
And that's why this program is working well, because comparing it to the Your Home Sold Guarantee, Your Home Sold Guarantee, you would never go and sit down with a seller and say, I'll make you an offer right now. You're sitting at your kitchen table and I'll make you an offer. It was, you had to go in the market first, because we needed an opportunity to try and sell your house. And if we couldn't sell it in a certain period of time, and usually it's 30, 60, 90-day period, then we'd look at buying your house. But what about the people that don't even want to go on the market at all? They just want their house sold. They don't even want to have someone walk through their house. They just want it done.
I think society's shifting a little bit, right? We're all busy. Everybody's pulled in 25 different directions these days. And it takes time. When I put a house for sale, I typically lean more towards our certified pre-owned home program, where we do a pre-inspection. We get everything repaired in the home. We're talking it could be 21 to 30 days before we're ready to go live on MLS. And in that 21 to 30 days, kids could have 20 hockey practices or 7 baseball games. Like, that's a lot of time that it takes to put a house on the market these days.
So that leads to a good question. In your opinion, why would someone then Obviously, it's the fact you don't have to go in the market, you don't have to have showings and all that. But beyond that, why would anybody be interested in the cash offer program?
I think it's simple, it's easy. You know the numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you come and sit down at my kitchen table and say, Shane, we're gonna give you a cash offer right now. It's $795,000. I know the number. On the market, maybe that number could be 805. Maybe that number could be 760. But there's a lot of unknowns, and I think we're getting to a point in the world now where we want to know what our numbers look like.
Well, I do know from doing enough of the cash offers, the people that we've helped with that program, they had specific reasons why they wanted to do it. I had one lady, they found a house, they were moving to Nova Scotia. They found a beautiful property overlooking the ocean. And they got it for the price that they wanted. And what they did is they made an offer conditional to their house selling in Calgary. But on that kind of an offer, the seller is still marketing the property, right? They're still looking for another buyer. And then you get, in her case, she got a 48-hour notice because they got another offer. So they had 48 hours that they either had to firm up the house in Nova Scotia or they had to just walk away. And we ended up going on the market with their house. We were listed, but it wasn't selling. And so when they got that 48-hour notice, they said, Rob, we need the cash offer. And we had an offer, we had a written offer accepted within 12 hours.
That sounds perfect to me. Can you imagine how you would feel if you lost that perfect home in Nova Scotia? Right? Because after that one, no house is going to be the same. Right? So
that was exactly right. She said that to me. She said, Rob, we will never find this house in Nova Scotia again for the price that we got it for. We'll never see this again. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. There are situations. We had another one recently where it was an older couple in Heritage Point, just south of Calgary.
Yeah.
And her husband's got dementia. They need to get out of this house and into something smaller. It was just really challenging. So they were just so happy that they could just have their house sold. Now, I don't mind saying this, and I think you'll agree with me, Shane. In most cases, if you go on the open market, your net proceeds, what you get in your bank account, will be a little higher than the cash offer, right?
Yeah, I think so. If you can wait it out and you want to bake some cookies before showing and the wind is blowing just the right direction and the sun is shining through the big front bay window when a buyer happens to walk through, I think house buying is emotional. If you can tie into those emotions of people, you might be able to squeeze an extra $10,000, $15,000 out of somebody sometimes, but it's work. Yeah. It's stress.
Yeah. And I think you hit the hammer on the nail. You'll net more, you'll just do a little more work to make it happen. So if you'd rather put a little more effort in, so that means you get your house ready. The cash offer, if I come over to your house, Shane, you don't have to pick up all the toys in the basement and don't have all those, your kids shooting hockey pucks in your basement and there's all those marks on your wall. You don't even have to clean those up. Yeah. we just buy your house in the condition that it's in, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and definitely, it frees up a couple things. If you think about, most people only buy a home. I think the research now shows every 7 years somebody moves on average. And finding a house can be stressful. Selling a house can be stressful. And I know, one of the things that we talk about quite often is our goal as, real estate professionals here in Calgary is we want to sell it in the quickest amount of time possible and keep you having the least amount of hassle. And, it sounds to me like this cash offer is absolutely the least amount of hassle you're going to run into.
It is. Now, people ask me a lot, and I'm sure they do with you too. They go, what's the catch? There's got to be a catch to this program. There just has to be. On this podcast, we're here to clarify that there's no catch. But I do want you to know that there is one condition if you are a single family home, and that is that the company will do an inspection. And this inspection, trust me on this, it's not because they're trying to find all these little things wrong with your house. That's not what the inspection is for. It's just to be sure there's no major structural issues. There's no major water issues. Your roof isn't leaking. You don't have major plumbing or electrical problems, because obviously the company that's buying your house for cash does have to consider that. And even if those are uncovered, they can actually structure an offer with a holdback. And you can reach out to Shane or myself if you've got questions around this. We won't get into the weeds on this because it gets a little deep and technical, but they can structure an offer with a holdback where if when they go to sell the property again, if some of these issues don't be an issue, you'll get that money back. If it is an issue, then it goes to sales deal. That's more or less the basic mechanics of the holdback. But I just want to assure everyone when they do those inspections, I can tell you with great certainty, 95% of the time, there's not going to be an issue from the inspection. It's just, they just have to be sure that there's no major expense. So
it's interesting that you say they're going to do an inspection, Rob. I'd ask the question because we both work with buyers as well. Don't most buyers do an inspection anyway if it's on the open market? So we're in a situation where Celsio, they're giving you a cash offer today, but they're just treating it like any other buyer would. So buyer beware. I get it. They want to have the inspection done, but that's pretty common in the market right now.
It's very common, and nobody should be too concerned about that. Now, the company does buy townhouse condos. And so with a townhouse condo, there is one extra condition that they will put on is they do want to look at the condominium documents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, every other buyer I've never worked with a buyer who didn't look at condo documents.
But here's the good news. We can usually get those inspections done within 3 to 5 days. And so in other words, you're going to have a firm, solid offer on your house within, 3 to 5 days. No problem at all. So that's why I said there's no catch to it. There is one more thing you should know. To me, this is good news though. You can sell your house and close and pick your possession day within 60 days, but it has to be within 60 days. It can't be longer than that. Yeah, but pick any possession you want within that 60-day period.
And I think that's pretty fair because that gives you time to go shop, whether you've already bought something with a possession day tied to it, or if you haven't, there's just happened to look the other day, there's 2,000 vacant homes for sale in Calgary right now. So if I accepted your cash offer, there's lots of options out there for me to get into in the next 60 days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's an easy thing to do for sure. And, for some people, if they haven't gone shopping yet, they can go find something. And, and then, like I said, for the lady that already had a place in Nova Scotia, well, hey, you just already got that set up and you can probably arrange bridge financing because if you've got a firm offer on your house, right, Shane, it's easy to get a bridge loan from the bank,
Or a lender. And we definitely have lenders we work with on a regular basis, like mortgage brokers, that we can introduce somebody to and make this transition as smooth as possible.
Very easy. So just to wrap up this segment of this podcast, for those that are watching, if you're really interested in this cash offer program, you can reach out to myself or Shane and we'll stop by your house. The program is really simple. And this is what I like most about it. We together at your kitchen table will look at the realistic value of your home. So we have all the data. We'll bring with you the recent solds in your community. We'll look very carefully at the houses that have sold that are most comparable to yours. And we will be able to establish what is most likely a realistic sale price. And at that point, we can make you a cash offer based on that realistic sale price at the table. Now, there is one other thing you should be aware of, though, and I love this program too. Let's say that you have a house that needs some work, okay? Maybe the carpet's not in the best of shape, the painting needs, the fence is falling over, just stuff that you don't want to deal with.
Kids put holes in the drywall. Right. Drywall needs to be repaired from all those hockey pucks in the basement that we talked about.
So let's just use a round number of $500,000. Let's say right now, Shane, your home is worth $500,000, but it needs some work, okay? And we'll say that the work to get it up to snuff is going to be $25,000 because it's just paint, carpet, and touch-ups and that sort of thing. But we figure we could probably, for $25,000, we could make that work. So here's the good news. Well, if anyone has ever sold a house before, and I have had lots of case studies for you that this works, but if you do put the work into a home, carpet, paint, touch-ups, and whatnot, if it costs $25 to do it, especially with the people that we use, because we work with great people that do it for a reasonable price. Hey, Shane?
Oh, yeah. We have a whole database.
That's what happens when you've been in the business a long time. You get to know people. What would you say on average has been your experience if you put 25 grand into a house that's worth around 500 grand? How much would that increase the value of the house, Shane?
Probably in that $30,000 to $40,000 range. Right, 35,
right.
45,000, depending on where you put it, where you put the money.
I would agree. I think that's a safe bet. 35, 40,000, like I said, depending where you put the money. We won't make any promises, but let's just say best case scenario, we got an extra $40,000. So $25,000 investment on the renos, you make an extra 15,000. The company we work with, you're going to love this, Shane, they share 50% in that profit. So if they make that $15,000 profit, they'll give you a check for $7,500.
Rob, this sounds an awful lot like an accountant I hired a few years back. He said, let me redo your taxes for you, Shane, and all I'm going to charge you is 50% of the extra rebate that you get. And to me, he got me an extra $5,000 rebate by going through some old taxes, and it cost me $5,000, but at the end of the day, I would have had zero. So him going through it, was it worth 50% of that difference? Same as this. Is it worth 50% of the cost of renos? Who puts out the money for that? It's not the seller, is it?
No.
Sounds like a win-win to me.
Yeah, sells you, they buy the house in the condition that it's in. They don't care. Then they go and do that work. And we know where to put the money. That's the thing. We know exactly where to spend the money. Because I'll tell you, I've worked with people that have tried to even flip houses, and the biggest mistake they make is they put money in all the wrong places, and they spend too much money because they're like, oh, I really like this bathroom that I put in, so I did all this extra stuff. But yeah, it's wonderful, except that the market's not going to pay for it. So we know where to spend the money. We know just enough to get the house sold so there's actually a profit. So we've done this and done it successfully. And how nice is it? You just get that extra check. You don't even have to ask for it. Once the house is sold, the check is sent to you, and there you go. You've shared in the profit. So really transparent way of doing business, and just that little extra amount, because most of these people that I've met, like I said, you described it well. You've got kids in sports. You might have a really busy life. The thought of doing all this work to get your house on the market, for some people, it's just a lot to ask. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, and I definitely have run into a couple of cases over the last few months, Rob, where I've got sellers that they just don't have the money for that $20,000 in renos. They're constantly looking at a mortgage payment going, where's the next payment coming from? And then you sit down with them as a real estate agent and you say, hey, Mr. Seller, if we were to spend $10,000 painting your house, you're gonna get $15,000 more on the back end. And they will look at me and just say, Shane, I don't have it. I don't have $10,000. And this sounds to me like a pretty good situation for somebody who's maybe struggling, right? And maybe they're not sure how they're going to make their next mortgage payment. It's definitely worth a conversation, at least, about what that cash offer would look like, what your options look like going forward, and how we can help. And I know the number one thing that I hear from a lot of people is, well, they're going to buy my house real cheap, they're going to do some quick renovations, and they're going to make $100,000. Well, that revitalization program, look at that. We've not only solved that issue, but you're actually going to benefit as the home seller as well, walking away with part of that profit.
Well, that's a great segue into, you just touched on the revitalization program. So if you are a seller that, let's say you are willing to make the effort, okay? You've got the time and you're willing to go through the patience of putting the carpet in, the paint in, and some of the renovations, just to bring it up to the level where you could make the money, but you just maybe don't really have the cash on hand to pay for the flooring and pay for the carpet. We have partnered with a flooring company, and this has been worked out really well. They'll supply and install the floors, and they collect the cost of that after we sell the house. So it comes at closing.
Very, very common program these days.
Yep. And we, at our brokerage, we cover the painting and some of the minor renovations. But I have a great case study, Shane. You're going to love this one. We went to this house in Hidden Valley, and oh my goodness, the guy was a smoker. When we arrived, it was so old school. He opens the door, he's got a cigarette in his mouth, right? Because not too many people smoke in their house anymore. Those days are long gone for most people, but he certainly did. He walked in there, and oh my goodness, the carpets, everything, it was just such a terrible smoke smell. And he knew it, and he says, yeah, I got a job in Saskatchewan. I got to get out of here. And he says, and I've already found a house. But he actually wanted not the cash offer. He wanted to maximize the sale price. And for him, he was moving out. And he said, I know No one likes coming to my house unless they're a smoker. So he said, nobody who's a non-smoker is going to buy my house unless all the house gets painted and the carpets put in. And by the way, he was also a bachelor. He wasn't the cleanest guy. Like, I wouldn't have even used his washroom when I was there. We hired cleaners. We did a complete cleaning job on the house. We put in these neutral colored carpet. We did luxury vinyl plank on the main floor. We painted the entire house. And we sold that house in 3 days after it was done. And we got top dollar for it. You could not have recognized it. And all the smoke smell was gone. When the carpets were gone, some people said, oh, you can't get rid of the smoke. Not true. Not true.
No,
it was gone.
Yeah, I've been in a few. I recently went to a townhouse and I was probably 10 steps away from the front door and you could definitely tell it was a smoker's home. That is, people talk about what we do for a living and that's it. We come up with the solutions to these problems where somebody's not going to want your house. Well, we've seen enough of it between the two of us. We're at probably about 60 years of experience in this industry, and you know how to solve these issues, right? The smoke smell, you're right. 90% of people think you can't get rid of it, but once you pull up the flooring, the carpet, the underlay, get a good coat of paint on it, paint the ceiling, you can get rid of that smell. There's options there. And sometimes it's just worth a conversation to go through those options.
And that's what it comes down to. And this is one thing I have to say I'm quite proud of at our brokerage is we've been able to come in with options. When I started this business a long time ago, there was just no options. Like the only option was to just list your house. And that was it. And we didn't really, there was just, as far as getting people help to get work done, all we would really do at that time was, okay, your house is in rough shape. Once the house is sold, the check is sent to you, and there you go, you've shared in the profits. So really transparent way of doing business, and just that little extra amount, because most of these people that I've met, like I said, you described it well. You've got kids in sports, you might have a really busy life. Just the thought of doing all this work to get your house on the market, for some people, it's just a lot to ask. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, and I definitely have run into a couple of cases over the last few months, Rob, where I've got sellers that they just don't have the money for that $20,000 in renos. They're constantly looking at a mortgage payment going, where's the next payment coming from? And then you sit down with them as a real estate agent and you say, hey, Mr. Seller, if we were to spend $10,000 painting your house, you're gonna get $15,000 more on the back end. And they will look at me and just say, Shane, I don't have it. I don't have $10,000. And this sounds to me like a pretty good situation for somebody who's maybe struggling, right? And maybe they're not sure how they're going to make their next mortgage payment. It's definitely worth a conversation at least about what that cash offer would look like, what your options look like going forward, and how we can help. And I know the number one thing that I hear from a lot of people is, well, they're going to buy my house real cheap, they're going to do some quick renovations, and they're going to make $100,000. Well, that revitalization program, look at that. We've not only solved that issue, but you're actually going to benefit as the home seller as well, walking away with part of that profit.
Right.
For sure. And keep that money out of the government's pocket.
Yeah, Mark Carney's got his hand out on every other profit you make anywhere else except your own personal house. So that's a tax-free amount of money. It can be worth it to make that effort. So that's why it's great to have these three options. And also, I don't want to not mention this either. One of the other things that we're offering, just to give that added level peace of mind, is home warranty to the buyer.
Yeah.
And you'll be happy to hear this if you're a seller. There's no risk to you. There's a company in Edmonton. They do new home warranty and they do warranty on resale homes. They do the underwriting. This has nothing to do with the seller. They write the policy. And it's just basic though, right? It covers the appliances, sewer scope.
And the mechanical system.
Mechanical, yeah. It'd be kind of devastating if you bought the house and the furnace all of a sudden went out 6 months after you bought the house. For some people, that's a real stretch to come up with $6,000 for a new furnace.
Yeah.
So that can be covered. And we can give that policy, and we call that our certified pre-owned home, And certified also means we do an inspection first, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've done a couple of the certified pre-owned homes. You owned a rental for 10 years and you just some of the maintenance got behind. The tenant's not going to go in there and do all the same maintenance. We come through with an inspector. The inspector is going to go through all the mechanical systems. They're going to go through the envelope of the home, exactly the same inspector as a buyer is going to use, generates a report, and then we include our contractors to come in. You need an electrician, you need a roofer, you need an HVAC guy. We get all of that repaired. That way, as a buyer starts to look at the property, not only are they seeing the original report, but they're seeing licensed repairs on the issues, which gives them a little more confidence in purchasing the home. And then once you add in that warranty, as a first-time home buyer, man, what a way to solve a lot of the stresses when it comes to buying a home.
Yeah, I sold a house, and the buyer's realtor was in shock. He couldn't believe it. We had the real property report. We had an inspection that was already done, including a sewer scope inspection. And we sent that information over for his buyer to review before they made the offer. And you know what he said to me? And it was great. He goes, Rob, I've never seen this. He says, I've been doing real estate for 20 years. I've never had a real estate agent send me over an inspection, the RPR, the sewer scope, before I made an offer. And he says, and I'll be honest, my buyer was going to make a lower offer, but they saw this and had a lot more confidence. So he says, we're coming in with something stronger.
Well, and that goes to show experience. That goes to show somebody who has sat through all the reasons that home purchases fall apart. And to get ahead of the game and be in front of the issues before the issues can even come, that's how you ensure you're doing the best job for your client.
And yet 99.9% of sellers don't do this when they sell their house. They don't take the time to really be prepared and show to the buyer that, hey, we've lived here for a while, but we want to be transparent with you that, hey, no house is perfect, right? But by the way, we've even done inspections on brand new houses, like brand spanking new, and you can't even believe some of the stuff you find.
Some of those are the worst.
I couldn't believe it. One time I sold a brand new house from a big builder. I won't name names on this, but big builder. And one of the exterior walls had no insulation. They missed it.
We did one where 9-foot ceilings and the insulation only went up 8 feet, right? That's what the home inspector is paid to find. And those issues are all solvable. We can solve every one of those issues, but we need to know about it. And that's the benefit of these certified pre-owned homes is as a seller, we know about it. We're not getting blindsided an hour before condition time, stressing everybody out and worrying about how do we save a deal. We're making sure that we put the best deal together first.
And it definitely, like I said, it brings in stronger offers because think about it. The two biggest fears that a buyer has when they're buying a home is number one, paying too much, right? That's a legitimate fear. Yeah. I don't want to pay too much for a home. But number two, I don't want to move in and find out there's problems with this property that I didn't know about. So if you can solve those fears in advance, then of course it just brings in better offers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our revitalization certified pre-owned home program, it really works well. So you got 3 options with us. You can take the cash offer, not worry about a thing. Basically, when you take the cash offer, you can sign at the kitchen table, we'll make you the offer, and you can start packing. Yeah. It's that simple. Or, like I said, we can do the revitalization program. We can maximize the sale price, put a little effort into the house, and get a return on that money. And that's going to work good too, because you're going to have a little bit more money in your bank account. Or if your house is in perfect condition, which it might be, that might not need anything, then it just comes down to superior marketing. And that's for another podcast that Shane and I will do. But we do some absolutely stellar superior marketing for those as well. So that we're coming in with 3 solid options. So I hope this clarifies that the cash offer program, 100% legit. It's not a bait and switch. We literally can make you that offer at the table if that's the route you want to go, or we can take the other steps necessary. And if you've got more questions about it, obviously Shane and I are so easily reachable. I speak for Shane too. We're happy to stop by anytime. Having us over and looking at the options doesn't cost you a thing, right? Yeah. Shane would love to charge a lot of money.
The other one to point out on that too, Rob, is it's not a long meeting. We don't need to get together for 8 or 10 hours. We're talking 90 minutes and you have your options laid out. So if thinking about selling is something that's on your mind, thinking about making a move, is it worth 90 minutes of your time to potentially save yourself months of stress?
Yeah, yeah. And you don't have to look at the timeline either. If you have us over and you're not quite ready to make this move, it's not like we're not too concerned about timelines, but we do understand people need the right guidance and information. You need to know the value of your house. You need to know what those options are, what everything would look like, depending on which way you want to go, and know what you end up with. And we provide all that for you free of charge, and you can just make your decision from there. Great program. I want to thank Shane for coming on our podcast today. Shane's been in the real estate business for a long time like me, so he knows what he's doing. And we pretty well handle all of the areas around Calgary, all the surrounding towns. And we work in the rural market just as much as we work in the city. We work with condos, we work with luxury homes. So really, when it comes to real estate in and around Calgary, we pretty well got you covered. All right. Thanks a lot, Shane.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate your time today.